the Quark Spider power meter is my main go-to power meter. Touch wood, it's been very reliable and never had a single dropout with it, never had a single spike, and it works really well. The only thing is a bit of a pain to travel with, and I've got to have a GXP bottom bracket on all the bikes, and don't really like that format. I prefer the Shimano bottom brackets. I've never had a single problem with the Shimano bottom bracket, and if I'm traveling or using other Shimano equipped bikes, this is really easy to take off. 2 pinch bolts on the preload bolt, and I can stick that in hand luggage and take it wherever I go to another Shimano bike. I mean, I'm not sure if I will take it in hand luggage. I'm not sure many airport staff would have a clue what it was, and they probably would question it or stop me going through with it. And actually, out of all the Shimano range, the 105 is probably the best kind of blunt trauma instrument out of all the cranks, because it is the heaviest. You could probably do someone a good bit of damage with that, and you'd see what torque you were getting when you were knocking them around the head with it. I just wanted to do a little review on what I think is probably the cheapest and most simple and reliable power meter currently on the market. 4Eyes Precision single-sided 105 crank. Now, I've got more videos on my channel of power meters and power meter design, kind of like the electromechanical principles behind them. And in that video, which is a very long-winded technical discussion, I said avoid single-sided crank-based power meters. This is a crank, right? This is a heavy 105 crank with a lot of material there. It was not designed to be a sensor in the first place, and it's got a piggyback solution on it. So what does that mean? Well, it's not tuned to take out bending strains. It's not tuned to increase the strain resolution for the strain gauge. They've just stuck a strain gauge on the crank, as far as I know, without any machining of the surface. They might have abraded away the anodizing. The strain resolution that you're left with is probably quite low, because this being a 105, there's a lot of material in the sidewall, so the shear strain you get from torque application is probably quite low. And that means the signal to noise ratio is probably lower than something you'll get from a Quark or an SRM, because that's been tuned to a high strain level on each arm of the Spider where there's a strain gauge. And you can also design that circuitry better to take out bending strains which don't contribute to power. Anyway, why have I gone and bought this one? Well, basically I just wanted a really cheap, really easy power meter to put on any Shimano bike, and I wanted it for my TT bike, which I run Ultegra cranks on, just to verify some CDA experiments. Now, you can predict CDA if you've got a power meter, and I didn't have one up until now. Yeah, this was an absolute bargain. These 4Eyes, touch wood, are known to be pretty reliable. Probably a bit more reliable than Stages power meters from what I've heard. They're certainly cheaper. And I picked this up for £220 off Pro Bike Kit UK. Now, I had it shipped to Asia, so I didn't pay VAT, but I think that's probably one of the cheapest and best proven power meters out there on the market. Now, I've followed 4Eyes for a number of years because I originally found the guy that was working on this design before he even joined 4Eyes, and I've been speaking to him recently, and I managed to find out, well, I managed to question him on basically what strain gauge pattern is in here and if it's a full bridge Wheatstone bridge design or not. The benefits of a full bridge design I have gone into in that massive presentation I did on power meters. You can look that up on my channel. Certain benefits are temperature compensation, strain resolution basically, or voltage resolution from a full Wheatstone bridge circuit. And he said, yes, there's a full Wheatstone bridge inside here, so that's a tick. Now, full Wheatstone bridge circuits can be used to cancel bending effects that don't contribute to power also. So when we're pushing down on the crank here at the pedal, that's the only type of bending or torque that is contributing to power. Any other loads like bending in that direction don't propel you forward. Axial forces down the crank don't propel you forward. So all those strains have to be cancelled by the circuitry, otherwise they'll apparently output a torque which is false, because the only torque we want to sense is that. And that's one of the biggest problems when designing sensor transducers with strain gauges, is that they are susceptible to picking up parasitic strains. I hope this one is pretty much, you know, negligible in terms of the parasitics. I know on the Stages, on the old app, you used to be able to like hold the crank in your hand and try and bend it in all different directions and see if it outputted torque on the app. And if it was to output torque whilst you're bending it like that, for example, that's showing you that the strain gauges aren't cancelling the parasitics. So I haven't dived into the 4eyes app yet and see if it can do a similar thing, but if not, I'll try and hack the electronics somehow and find out, see if we can put like a breakout board on it. I doubt I will, and I don't want to destroy it, but I'll get this on the bike. I read online that the 105 left side crank is only 6 grams heavier than the Ultegra 6800 left side crank. So, and I think this one is like 100 quid cheaper than the Ultegra crank. The only advantage of the Ultegra crank power meter is that the wall thickness in the crank is thinner, apparently to be slightly lighter. So the strain that you're going to get on the strain gauge is going to be slightly higher, which should improve the signal to noise ratio of the sensor as a whole. But if it's only 6 grams lighter, it's going to be so marginal. I've got it 172.5. It's on the TT bike. Could have gone shorter perhaps, but I think, you know, I'm so tall, shorter cranks to a limit is going to be difficult with leg mass and inertia and stuff like that. So got to stay slightly long on the cranks. But yeah, we're going to give it a go on the TT bike. And hopefully this is going to be the cheapest, most reliable power meter for the money. So if you're interested, I'll drop the link in the description somewhere. But I thought for that price, you can't go wrong really. Cheers guys.